Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the Soda Pop News Breakdown here on Soda Pop. Alright, I'm your host, the Frozen Stratos, and basically what this show is about is I'm going to be breaking down all the SHODO, SHODO, and Yuno news that comes out each week in a more condensed format than the podcast that comes out tomorrow on Monday. But for now, I'm going to talk to you guys about all the new SHODO stuff, all the new SHODO stuff, and basically our very first look at Kamen Rider 01's brand new SHODO line. So, without further ado, let's just hop right into these images and sort of take a look at the points that the SHODO blog wants to make. So like I said, we got a ton of new images. And they're looking pretty good. But the main things that the blog wants to note, first up, is that they've got a ton of paint this time around. And they sort of showed us the comparison between the stickered and non-stickered versions of this figure, and the difference is very minimal. I love it. Sure, you don't get the fine details with the unstickered one, but you get a very serviceable looking silhouette, and it looks pretty good. The paint that I really wanted to highlight is the head. Fully painted. Eyes fully painted. Like, you don't need to do anything outside of, like, the top of the head sticker. The back of the legs are painted, and even what's not painted, like the leg here, the calf, it has some really nice sticker detail. That leads us into the second point they wanted to make about the stickers. So, these are the fewest stickers they've ever had, kinda. Compared to Kamen Rider Build's first SHODO line, or his first SHODO figure, he had about, I think, 16 is what the blog said, and 01 has 17. But, Kamen Rider Build, that line never actually had, belt stickers, and here 01 actually includes 4 bits of them in order to make that look work. So technically this has less if Build had belt stickers, but that's neither here nor there. This is looking really good, and I'm glad to see that they are cutting down and responding to criticisms about the stickers. The one that I really wanted to point out though is the belt sticker. Inside, it's a little hard to see, but there is a hopper symbol in there. They managed to fit it in. That's very exciting. That's really cool. So I'm really glad they got that detail in there. Next up, we've got the layout. Now, this isn't the regular SHODO layout that they give us, the nice, pretty, like, white-backed images. So this isn't, like, the official production image that they're going to be using for this. This is just the SHODO blog person taking pictures of it in the studio. So there might be more that actually comes in these packs. But for now, they wanted to highlight that the separation of these two is going to be the body and the armor, as opposed to the action body and the cross armor. Now, my co-host Malunis, which you'll hear about tomorrow, he said that the cross armor sounded a lot like cloth armor, which may have gotten confusing. I don't know how much validity that has, but that's how I understand it, and that's sort of why they decided to cut down and just put body and armor. And on that note, the armor, they wanted to touch on how they decided to mold these this time. Most of the time, these figures are molded in black plastic and painted over, but since they separated the armor, as they usually do, they were able to mold some of it in yellow plastic, or this neon yellow plastic, and they were able to cut down on large swaths of paint and only had to paint in minimal details. So that's how they were able to get so much, so much accuracy without the stickers so far. Next up, they got rid of the dummy head. Now, if you don't know what this is, every pack of SHODO, the bodies of the SHODO figures, they would come with this head, and presumably it was for the kids who only bought this one in the store, so that they'd actually have something to play with, like with a head. And they got rid of it because they wanted to make the best product possible, and to do that, they're getting rid of this, and the money that they saved from it, they poured it into the paint, which is awesome, which is really cool to hear. So yeah, that's the reason that's going to be gone. And really, it's not an important piece in the grand scheme of the SHODO line. So I'm glad that they basically trimmed this fat. Anyway, next up, we've got the body. They wanted to make note of the body itself and how it's a different sort of, I guess, connection scheme for at least the thighs. So first up is, I guess, the body itself, and they wanted to say that for the foreseeable future, this is the body that you'll need. In Geo, his line had a regular Geo body and then also an armor body for the various rider armors. But here, this is the only body, again, for the foreseeable future, as far as they know, that you're going to need. And in order to do this, they created a new thigh splitting scheme, which isn't entirely new, but we'll get into that in a bit. But this allows them to make a very robust body that is, I guess, usable with, they made the comparison with Flying Falcon. Apparently that's in the first episode. Haven't seen it yet. I hope it's good. But yeah, that's how that all shakes out. So this is the only body that you're going to be needing for a while for the 01 forms. But like I was saying about the thighs, these are different than the Geo thighs, the Build thighs, and even the X8 thighs, wherein those thighs had about, I guess, 3 different components. You had the top of the thigh, and then the 2 things that smushed onto it and then rotate around the, I guess, the mushroom peg of that thigh. But now it's more of like a 4 or 5 part system where the armor is going to be separate from it, and you clip it onto, I guess, the thigh part. So the reason, well, we have seen this implemented before in Den-O and Kamen Rider Double, but you see with these guys, the thigh doesn't ride up all the way like it does with 01. The reason that they made the thigh do that, well, basically in Kamen Rider Chronicle, those are aimed at 15 and up, kids 15 and up, so they're able to have smaller parts. But with 01, that's aimed at more of a 3 and up audience. So what they did was they extended the thigh higher, those parts that you split, they extended it higher on the thigh in order to, I guess, comply with the toy safety standards in Japan. As far as I can tell, what I'm gleaning from the blog itself. Next up, they said they couldn't make any improvements on like the base body and the articulation, so you're getting the same 20 points of articulation as always. I'm glad, obviously nothing was taken away, so that's really good. And they said they did make improvements somewhere, and we have yet to see the display stand. And again, next week you'll hear Maluna say that maybe there's something going on with the display stand. So we have yet to see with that. Next up, their final point that they wanted to make, and this doesn't really apply to an English-speaking audience, but the Japanese audience will have an opportunity to get 01 early. There's a Twitter campaign. Only about 100 people are going to win this, but you get 01 early. But what it did come with was a commercial for SHODO figures, as we usually have. And in that commercial, they had silhouettes of what's to come, at least for Wave 1 and even into Wave 2. So it looks like the Shark, maybe the Falcon, and then, I don't see any of the Metsubo Jinrai people, but definitely the secondary and tertiary riders do seem to be represented here, so I am excited for that. These guys are going to be retailing for 400 yen as opposed to the 420 yen from last year, so We got marked up last year, but we're marked back down to 400 yen, and it's great. These are going to be released in October, at least the first wave, so get ready for that. Get on top of your pre-orders. I have not pre-ordered mine yet because AmiAmi's listing isn't up at the time of this recording. Anyway, that's not all we got out of SHODO this week. Ooh, I accidentally hit the computer. But yeah, we've got some SHODO Chronicle news coming out of Double. And it's pretty good. Last week, we got the reveal of Kamen Rider Eternal. And they said, oh yeah, this was, we're releasing this kind of early, so we don't really have information for you, how it's going to be released, or what price, where it's going to be released, you know. But today, they just gave us the rest of that information. He's going to be released with Kamen Rider Double's Cyclone Joker Extreme, Gold Extreme. Cyclone Joker Gold Extreme. And for this figure, they have 3 different points they wanted to hit. Again, SHODO with the different points. I don't know what that's about, but they're doing it. First point is metallic eyes. All the regular SHODO Kamen Rider Double figures had just basically base painted eyes, like not metallic, but they're metallic now, so that's cool. The next thing they wanted to note, which is not great, but he's gonna be molded in gold plastic and have like a little bit of gold paint. Which, if you're a Transformers fan, you already know the problem with gold plastic. I don't know how durable this is gonna be, because there's a thing called gold plastic syndrome that makes any gold plastic degrade over time. And this has happened with Bandai products before. I do have the RKF figure of Kamen Rider Grease, and his joints are starting to shatter, so I don't know how well this is going to hold up. This does seem to be a different gold plastic, and they have used gold plastic before on Kamen Rider Geo Grand's form, and that's doing pretty well, so I'm hopeful, but I'm skeptical. But either way, the last point they wanted to hit was that the wings they're movable, and they're going to be clear with gold trim on them, so it's going to look really nice on your shelf. So yeah, that's basically it for these guys. They're going to be coming out on January of 2020, and will be 4,180 yen on P Bandai. Get them on P Bandai. It should, like, the pre-orders should go up 9-2, so like tomorrow, or maybe even today. Wait, no. Yeah, today. Anyway, so get on top of these. If you've got a middleman, make sure to get on top of it. But if you're like me, I'm going to wait till they show up on Mandarake and hopefully get them from there. Same with the Axle set. Anyway, that's it for all the SHODO news, but there is a little bit of SHODO stuff, and I just want to, go over that a little bit. So let's hop right into SHODO-O. And this is their first wave, so they just kind of wanted to go over some of the stuff that they did already. This is Kaiza. We've got some really nice images here. He's coming with everything you need for Kaiza, except for a side basher, but, we won't hold it against him. We're also going to be getting another Agito in this set, and they do say you can army build him for your another Geo display. You won't have another Agito on his chest, but you can, do that yourself. I have seen reference images, though, of people that have picked this up and put them next to their another figures, and these are, say, about half a head shorter. Most of the SHODO figures are half a head shorter than SHODO, so do keep that in mind if you do plan to get this for your another collection. Next up, we've got Shadow Moon. He's looking great. He's coming with a lot of accessories. A sheathed sword, a regular sword, and then a sheath. And then he has 2 swords that are used against Kamen Rider Black RX. I'm not really big on Showa stuff, so I don't know too much about this. So I'm sure it's accurate. He comes with a lot of stuff. And then we also get this guy, I guess. They're giving us a lot of stuff, so I'm fine with like a filler thing. I can't imagine that there's a body underneath that cloak, or that there's any mass within it, but we'll see. And yeah, on top of that, Sorry. There's going to be an accessory set included, and this is where all the like accoutrements come into play, and these look really nice. And if you're wondering what that white stuff is, I was too. And then they told us, get ready for some SHODO rails. Just some plastic road rails so that you don't fall off the side. Man, you know what? Again, like I said, I'm fine with getting like filler pieces or filler boxes if I'm getting some really stellar figures in the pack. So, fine. I'll take these. That's fine. But that's it for like the sort of overview. But they did want to show us some new stuff. We saw these from Wonderfest this year. But now we have official images of Kamen Rider V3 and X from the SHODO-X series. Now, if these guys look familiar, these two were actually in the first wave of SHODO Versus, like the first series. Even X was in there with less paint, so these are looking great. And I'm sure that these guys are going to be able to do the whole sitting pose, like they have that separate sitting joint like all the rest of the SHODO-X figures have, because they also come with their bikes. So get excited for these. This is SHODO-X Wave 7. I'm very happy that these are coming out, and they are in a, they have their bikes, they have everything they need for the most part, so I'm very excited. Anyways, that just about wraps up all of the SHODO, and Yudo news, because again, no Yudo news. But if there is any, come back here and we'll sort it out. Also, if you want a more instant version of the news, we have a Twitter where we basically go through and sort of like sift through Google Translate to give you everything we sort of understand out of the SHODO blogs. And then also a long-form podcast coming up tomorrow on the SHODO Pop channel. And yes, if you're wondering, we did move out of our home from RRR back to SHODO Pop. We are our own entity yet again. We're going to be re-uploading all the old podcast episodes, and this is going to be the new show on SHODO Pop. It's not replacing the podcasts, but we will be bringing more content to this channel. I hope you guys like this. I've done this sort of before with SHODO Showdown. It was a show on one of my old channels, so I'm glad to be here to bring you the news yet again and just talk the news at you. I love SHODO. This is easily my favorite thing to talk about. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Keep it juicy.